And welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour Dragon's Maze here from San Diego, California. In our feature match area, Jon Finkel, one of the most successful Magic players ever to sleeve up a deck, versus David Williams. Two teammates, you mentioned that a minute ago. Zach, let's take a look at our openers for Jon Finkel, a mountain. This doesn't really say a lot, as it can be anywhere from 2 to 5 colors in this format, though we've seen 2 already here, and it's a Gore House Chainwalker. I believe he's going to unleash it, so it's going to be a 3-2 on turn 2, and it's going to start applying some pressure as we see David Williams lead off with Guildgate, Zach.
Yeah, and you can't be too upset if you're Jon to have a 3-power creature in the second turn when your opponent's just played 2 gates. Really firm command of the aggression here. Jon looks like he is playing pretty straightforward, aggressive Rakdos.
Very much so.
Riot Piker, you're going to want to be attacking every turn. And now Dave, has to decide whether he wants to play a blocker, trying to ambush that Piker, use a removal
I think
spell,
Dave has bigger problems than that here, Zach. I believe he's going to miss his 3rd land drop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's just got to discard a Maze Glider, and this could be a quick one from Jon Finkel. Now, I see that there's a stab wound in hand for Dave Williams. If he's able to pick up a land, he can take out one of the threats immediately and start to stabilize this board. But for now, Carnage Gladiator, I believe, there for Jon Finkel, and boom, take 5 damage, David Williams. He draws a land, but it comes into play tapped. It's a Guildgate. If he can manage to not die in the next 2 turns, he's got a shot at this, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not even going to be able to play blockers and allow himself to stabilize. He's going to have to cast that stab wound.
Yeah, you're right. So this is going to get really ugly for him, as he just took 9 damage, which I believe is going to bring him all the way down to 3.
Yeah. I mean, and just not a lot Dave can do.
That you can play. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, can't even cast Supreme Verdict without a Plains.
Yeah.
I really, this was my opening hand, after my mulligan. What am I going to do, set it back in?
So you heard Jon giving him a little bit of an insight about what kind of a keep he made on that.
I was not going to cut it.
5 land Riot Piker, but hey, sometimes you top deck.
Yep.
And that's all you need.
Ultra Pro is a leading manufacturer of trading card, game sleeves, and deck boxes. If you're looking for official Dragon's Maze portfolios, card storage boxes, deck boxes, sleeves, and playmats, Ultra Pro has you covered. For more information, visit wizards.com/magicmerchandise. See Tajik on there looking regal and ready for battle, just like Jon Finkel was in that first game. We talked about this quite a bit, Zach. These 2-color decks are able to be consistent and apply pressure where the power level might be higher on the other side, but they're not as fast and they stumble sometimes.
I'm just frustrated that you were talking through my being able to make fun of that great transition you just gave. No, but that's a great point. I mean, again, like you saw, Dave has 3 gates, exactly what you want to be taking to smooth out your mana base, incredibly high card quality. But, he missed 1 land drop.
1 land drop.
Missed effectively 2 because his 3rd gate came to play tapped, and that was all Jon needed to take this game. I mean, that's why, if you can get an aggressive deck in this format, we're seeing the numbers on Magic Online pan out this way, too. Hard to get an aggressive deck, hard to stick to it, but if you can do it, it tends to pay off. Yeah,
and we saw that very much here in the first game. Now, Dave Williams, he's going to have more information now about what Jon Finkel is up to, and it can lead to mulligan decisions that he might make differently, where he knows, look, if I stumble, I could just be dead here.
It's just funny. When I saw him in hand, I was like, all right, I guess I'll take my,
If he draws an untapped land after missing that drop, I think he's in a pretty decent position, but it just didn't happen that way for him.
For that kind of draw, it was like.
Yeah, I mean, even if he just plays a 2-3, he can eat the Piker. Falls down to a low life total. Stab wound takes it.
Yeah.
And this is a TGS special.
No, actually.
A Martell special.
It's a lot smoother.
I think that's a little troll of his teammate Tom Martell, maybe stretching to some ambitious mana bases.
I saw what was going through me. And
He said it's smoother.
His deck didn't
we just got a result in, is that right?
Yeah, PV's up a game over
so I knew it
over Mamoru Nagai from Japan on one of the back tables.
Oh, okay.
I'll play.
PV, we were talking about players of specialties, not always known for his limited game, sort of been notoriously was off Magic Online for a long time. So you got to be excited for that to be up a game right now if you're following.
All right, we're going to take an early peek here at Dave Williams' hand. He's got mana to cast spells, which I think he's pretty happy about. He leads off with a Guild Gate here.
Good.
And no 1-drop from John Finkel, so that's nice. But there is a 2-drop for Dave Williams, and it looks like a Duskmantle Guildmage this time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot better draw for Dave. He has both lands and spells, has a lot of different colors of mana.
Tavern Swindler for John Finkel. So things are at parity. Looks like there's going to be a Windrake here for Dave Williams, and he's just going to pass a turn back.
Yeah, I don't want to trade your Guild Mage with what essentially amounts to a generic 2/2 unless you're willing to take a gamble.
You want to start flipping some coins.
So yeah, far better draw for Williams this time around. I mean, Finkel's draw pretty fine. It looks like 2-drop into Ember Beast.
Yep.
Good.
You know, which threatens to get in for a decent amount next turn.
Yeah, against the current board state, that's a perfectly reasonable start. Let's see if Dave Williams has a 4 here. I know that he's got a Mind Eye Drake in his hand, and I believe that he just drew Knightly Valor.
Oh, okay.
So if he can play that gate and then play a land and Drake and then follow it up, he's also got Launch Party in his hand as well. Though this, I don't know if this is really the right place for a Launch Party. What do you think?
Nah, you're looking to slow roll that card a little bit more to
Okay.
deal the final couple of damage or take out a big threat.
I mean, he could kill the Swindler and kind of turn off the 3/4 Ember Beast.
That's true.
Is that a play you would consider here?
It's not a bad play. I think right now Dave might actually be kind of in the aggressive position. I mean, he's going to start hitting in the air, play a far bigger threat to shore up the ground. I mean, I just don't think you want to. I just don't think you want to throw away a creature right now.
I agree. If Dave does go Mind Eye Drake into Knightly Valor, it's a really devastating play. Wow. So here is Mizium Mortars.
Dave
which
says,
is
hold, please.
on the stack.
Okay. So I'm going to take in 1. Yeah.
All right, so he's going to activate the ability, the first ability of Duskmantle Guildmage. That says whenever a card goes to John's graveyard, he loses a life. So it's just a clean play there from Dave Williams, making sure that he gets his mana's worth there.
Yeah, of course. And that's exactly the reason these guys are pro players. I mean, it's just so easy to miss plays like that.
Absolutely. He was doing nothing else with his mana, and he made sure it happened. Ooh, here is
oh, man.
Opal Lake Gatekeepers, and it's active. He's going to get to draw a card. He's going to get to play a land, and things are going to start going Dave Williams' directions pretty firmly here. Once you resolve a Gatekeeper for value against the aggressive deck, things are looking pretty good for you generally.
Yeah.
Dave Williams had a fairly comfortable 15 also.
No, right, and something we saw there, you know, he attacked with his Drake the first time, but this time he wants to make sure to have 2 blockers back so that if John attacks with Beast and Swindler, he can take out the Swindler and leave the Beast stranded right here. We heard now Day 9 actually picking up his first game against Wald right here, so might be turning his record around just a little bit.
There you go.
Yep. Your turn.
All right, Mind Eye Drake after an attack from a Windrake, and see a Weapon Surge there for John Finkel. I believe he's also got a Dynacharge.
A tricky hand here.
Yeah, he needs more bodies.
Yeah, and he's looks like he's got a second Mizium Mortars, but only 2 red mana.
He has 2 Mizium Mortars?
That's what the card viewer is telling me. We can confirm that in a second. But,
I couldn't get a great look on his hand. I can actually, he does, confirmed, he does have 2 Mizium Mortars, and yeah, he opted to play both of them. But it looks like he's going to attack here.
So are we going to see maybe a Dynacharge plus a Weapon Surge and just say, like, I don't know that you played around this?
Yeah, you know, he does have enough mana to overload both.
Well, he also needs to do something constructive right now. I mean, Dave up a card on the Gatekeepers, has a pretty solid board presence, plus some evasion whenever he wants to start attacking, as you saw last turn with the Drake. So, I mean, John really needs to get something going right here.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot for Dave Williams, though, as he doesn't want to unnecessarily take damage.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's going to take multiple cards. You know, he's got profitable blocks twice if he wants them.
Right.
And, you know, just the Dynacharge could take out both, but he would still, John would still be losing his Swindler.
Right.
You know, so it's an interesting situation because Dave does have a cushion here. He's got 15 life. He can take some damage if he feels like it's better to wait. But at the same time, he doesn't want to just unnecessarily take damage.
Right, especially when you're in such a commanding position. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what we see here.
All right, so he is going to 2 for 2 basically with John Finkel here, as we're going to see a Dyna charge.
And do you think if you're John, you use Weapon Surge here as well?
That's the interesting decision. Right now, Dyna charge means that there's a trade with the Tavern Swindler and Opalite Gatekeepers, and the Ember Beast eats. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
And we see Dave Williams. He knew it was coming. He figured it out. He's like, okay, yep.
Yeah.
But he takes no damage that turn, and it did take 2 cards from John Finkel to take out 2 cards from Dave Williams. Now, what Dave's got to be a little worried about here is that he does have the well, actually, no, I'm going to take that back because Finkel's sitting on only 1 swamp, and there isn't a card that's going to interact in this way, so he knows that Knightly Valor
is going to resolve.
And he's not going to take on the risk of losing the Drake, because that's the nightmare.
Right. Now, last turn, important for John because he does keep another creature on the table to attack with Ember Beast, and he gets the 5 toughness creature off the battlefield for this Mizzium Mortars that he is slamming right now.
Yep.
And that does.
I don't know if you saw, but
Oh
I don't know if you saw, but Dave Williams just quickly double-checked to see if there was already one in John Finkel's yard. Mizzium Mortar's one of the best cards in the whole block, and he's got 2 of them.
And John succeeding in getting that Drake off the board, too, that would have ordinarily survived the Mortars and provided a target for the Knightly Valor. You know, even with +2 toughness, Valor on the Tower Drake not big enough to stick around.
That's right. Now, I think Dave Williams is actually at 10 life here. Now, the question is, does John have another creature? Because Dave can trade his Ascended
Law
Mage there, thank you, Zach, for the Tavern Swindler if he wants. And that would turn off the Ember Beast potentially.
Wow.
Nope. Instead, it's not only another
what
creature, but it's one with haste as well.
Yeah, of course. And lifelink to get him out of that you know, back up from 11.
Right. Now, if you're in Dave Williams' seat, you still have Launch Party in hand. So you can block and launch if you want. But it feels like he's falling desperately behind if he's forced to do that.
Yeah, and it looks like he is going to trade that Law Mage and get the 3/3 off the table. Or sorry, not trade, but chump block.
So why wouldn't you block Ember Beast there?
Yeah, that's unclear to me. I'm not exactly sure. I think you're probably just thinking like, oh, this trades, and then you're like, oh, wait, no, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
I did hear Dave say, I 2-for-1 myself willingly, you know, which is a little tongue-in-cheek from Dave Williams there.
Wow.
And it is a Scorchwalker that is going to get blood rushed, and that's going to be the victory as Dave Williams, unfortunately for him, he just drew an island on that last draw.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just very challenging to power through 2 copies of Mizzium Mortars.
I don't see how you could do that. I mean, Dave played a solid game of Magic there. He resolved powerful spells, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, it gained card advantage off Gatekeepers, but not substantial enough.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's no harm in it. So, like, I'm like, you're just
We'd like to
rerolling
thank
3 damage,
Card
but
House
I
Games
just
for
block
being an
one and
official
make a
card
trick on it.
retailer here at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze. For all things Magic, Card House Games is one of the premier destinations on the internet. For more information, visit cardhouse.com. So yeah, pretty tough one for Dave Williams. You got to feel for the guy there. He stumbled lightly on a land drop and just got fully punished for it in game 1, and then in game 2 he had to try to fight his way through double Mizzium Mortars, and turns out that's a very difficult task.
Yeah, and let's not forget either that John didn't have that 3rd red mana for the 2nd mortar, so had to casually draw that off the top of his deck so that Dave couldn't beat down with a 4/3 Vigilant Flyer that pumps toughness and a Knightly Valor token.
Well,
so,
it was actually a Windrake.
So, it was a Windrake, not
but
Tower
still,
Drake.
your point.
So, sorry,
4/4.
a Sarah Angel.
Yeah, Sarah Angel. Just a Sarah Angel.
Merely.
And
yes.
the 2/2 on the ground that can trade for Tavern Swindler. And in the position that John Finkel was in, he couldn't afford to lose Tavern Swindler because he needed it to keep his Ember Beast active. So, you know, Dave was in a pretty darn nice situation, and it all went downhill thanks to the 2nd copy of Mizzium Mortars. And yeah, it's hard to blame Dave for sifting through the graveyard to say, wait, really? You actually have another one of these?
It's particularly surprising just because it's not like he has 2 copies of a gold card that are going to wind up in his deck. I mean, anyone playing red could have taken the mortars and probably would. I mean, 2 mana for 4 damage, a premium spell.
I mean, we can ask him. Maybe Rashad will be able to ask him. But you have to figure he opened it and then got past it like
one.
the next pick,
Yeah,
right?
that's got to be the most likely thing to happen.
Yeah. All right, looks like we're ready for a quick word with John Finkel. Let's send it down to Rashad Miller.
All right, Rashad Miller. I'm here with Johnny Magic, John Finkel. So, we all know that you draft a lot, and you really liked RTR, and then you were kind of vocal about Gatecrash not being the best draft format, but now that Dragon's Maze is in the mix, what do you think that changed? How does that change your feeling about the draft format?
I mean, first of all, I would say I think RTR was very mediocre.
Okay.
I mean, Gatecrash was awful. RTR was mediocre. Now, I understand that the whole point of it was to have the 3 sets together. I think with Dragon Maze, it's a much, much better format. And so I can see how like this was the end product they were going for. You know, I like it now because there's a lot of different things you can do. I still think you're best off going for focused 2-color, preferably aggressive decks. Slight preference to being in RTR block, although I think some of the best decks are Boros decks. And you have to see if you think you're cutting something or not. I think that if you don't end up that way, then you can also build a pretty good multicolor kind of gate control, deck with a lot of mana fixing, a lot of ground stall, and high impact cards. I mean, the kind of deck that Dave presumably has right here. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to doing a lot of drafts with all 3 of the formats. So I think it came together, very nicely. I think that the flip side, the cost that was paid was the fact that we had to wait to get to this point, to have a draft format that was this good.
All right, awesome. This is Rashad. I'm going to send it back to the booth with Zach and Marshall.
Thank you, Rashad. We're lining up our next match. We've got a few matches, one more match outstanding, and it looks like we're going to get popular streamer Sean Plott, otherwise known as Day 9. He's playing in the Pro Tour here this weekend. And let's see if we can get a look at his board state. We do. I believe he's on the right-hand side of the screen here. And it looks like he has gone maybe a slight splash of red, as I see an Is It Cluestone, but basically he's Azorius. He's blue-white.
Yeah, a really solid board on Day 9's side. Some really premium picks. Got some good evasive beaters, some card advantage, and Runewing. Kind of exactly what you want to be doing in this format.
All right, we get a couple of quick updates as well. Nassif is up a game in his match, and PV wins 2-0 over Nagai. So let's take a look at what Day 9 has here. You can hear him thinking out loud.
Begin attack. Attack.
May I block?
Yep.
So what is it we see on the other side of the board right here?
Well, I believe that's an Alms Beast,
Man.
right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
an
it
Alms
looks like.
Beast is pretty sweet. Dark Revenant, which
Kind of awkward.
I believe is going to block here, though it looks like it's a tough blocking situation for Piotr Wald, as he's really kind of tanking it out. I see that he's got a warped physique in his hand, but it's stuck as he doesn't have the mana
Exactly,
to cast it.
yeah, kind of awkward, unfortunately, last turn. He's got 6 total mana, but not enough to cast his 2/2 flyer and leave up warp physique, which you got to want to be able to at least try and cast right now to get the spirit off the table. But, I mean, he's going to have a very good counterattack.
Yes, he
As
is.
we're probably about to see right here.
There's a Sin Collector, too. I don't know that it hit anything. I only see a Daring Skyjack in Day 9's graveyard.
Okay.
So
I'm going to block the Alms Beast with the Deputy of Quittles.
I kind of like that Sean is giving us a running commentary of his own
That's
game
it.
right here.
Right.
Take 2, yeah.
And I will, well, if you're not doing anything for combat damage, then I'll security blockade. So I'll go to 3. So wait,
You gain
I
a
gain
life from
so I gain 2. So wait, that puts me to 8, and then I drop 3, so I should go to 5.
Right, so we're getting a little commentary as we see Day 9 block with his Deputy Acquittals to prevent taking 6, and hence lethal damage from that Alms Beast. The turn's been passed back. I believe that's Hidden Strings in hand for Day 9. Not a great card in this situation. It unfortunately doesn't extend to the next turn, so it's a temporary effect.
On my Vassal Soul.
Right. An interesting card to play in this matchup. I mean, you've got a lot of evasion, which means that
Yeah.
normally you'd be able to attack with your fires, untap them
Yeah.
to create some blockers right here. You know, really interesting for
the
Wald.
first thing I'll
He
do
can actually
is
let that resolve,
tap your
make
island.
Sean think that he is going to, you know, be able to attack and untap his creatures, and then Wald could theoretically counter the second copy
He could.
after Sean commits.
No.
But I think Sean wisely tapping Wald's island to prevent any of those kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, and I think what we see from Wald here is he's deciding if he actually cares about this at all.
Right.
I guess he is going to
Kill the
decide
delay.
to do this. So there was a little bit of a sequencing. You know, you want to cast hidden strings
Okay,
with the target
so-
and not.
He can choose sorry, he can choose new target for this or not.
All right, we're asking
How
the
does,
judge.
how does that work? So, because I targeted his island.
Okay. So here's the way it works. You need to
You
declare
got
all
drafted to
targets
count,
you
did you?
cast.
Oh, I declared these two.
Including creature that will be ciphered.
No, that's not part of the targeting.
So now he can target other creature if I in response kill this guy.
That's correct.
That is correct. Now, of course, Wald could just float the mana.
Yes.
So
Right.
the cipher decision is made when the spell resolves.
Yeah.
Targeting
can
is made
choose
when it
other
goes on the
creature.
stack.
Right.
Not this.
Okay, so first I did those two, and in response he zapped this guy.
Yes.
So that means that I will now put it on Rune Wing. So then this dies because of the Warp Psyche. Okay. And so I made these two as the targets.
Yes.
So do those just remain tapped since my
Those-
choice was to tap them, or do they untap
Yes.
now?
You have to.
Yeah, that's actually a really good
yeah,
question.
you choose what you do to them when you cast it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I wanted to tap those
Do you remember
two
Fate
guys.
Stitcher?
Or sorry.
Yeah, right.
You choose
The
the
sort
targets.
of
When it resolves, you
counterintuitive
choose
warning.
when it resolves, you choose what you want to do to them.
Okay.
So you can either tap them or untap
I want them to stay tapped. Take that, Peter.
Okay.
Take that, Peter, he
So it goes
says.
on the Rune Wing, and then I will swing.
All right, now the knight has vigilance.
Yeah.
Now remember, Sean is not a professional Magic player, so he's doing what you should do in this situation. He's asking the judge, and he's
then
getting
I
everything
will-
cleared to him.
Oh, yeah.
With
But again,
the
his
combat
intuition
damage, I will
was
tap
correct
these
It was
two,
correct.
take
Yeah.
that, and then I end my turn.
Tapping two lands, not electing to untap his Rune Wing there.
He has dropped Peter down to 6, but unfortunately, he is in a tough position as he's going to take 4 here potentially, depending on what he wants to do.
Block with the knight,
He's just saying, all right, I
Sure.
can't afford to take 6.
He must do that,
and I lose
Right.
a knight.
but he does gain 2 life back again, and that's going to put him back up to 7, which means he can take a hit from the Alms Beast if it's by itself.
Right. Now, of course, Wald has 2 other creatures and a counterspell in hand. Runewing can attack and then untap itself in theory. What is it that he drew there?
Was it a blister coil weird?
Yeah,
I
go-
couldn't quite see.
That-
No,
that
it must not have been. He would have played it. Oh, no, never mind.
All
He's
right.
attacking first. All right, so Dark Revenant's going to jump
Eyes
in
open.
front. Runewing down, draw a card.
All right.
He's drawn Runner's Bane there.
Which
And yeah, I think it is a blister coil weird behind it.
All right, so if we play Blister Coil Weird and Runner's Bane the Sin Collector, Sean
turn?
can survive an attack from Alms Beast.
Oh, no.
It's just a really bad
I think he
1/1.
passed a turn back.
Oh, yeah? Okay. And, of course, Wald drawing the 2/2 flyer again.
Okay.
Take a look at Runner's Bane here. Of course, a very good removal spell out of Dragon's Mage. We can't do anything about the Alms Beast.
Yeah. Now, he could trade his blister coil weird for the Sin
I'm gonna
Collector
security
and
blockade
still be
and block
alive.
the Alms Beast.
All right, so he's going to activate his security
take
blockade,
1
preventing
damage
1
plus 2
damage
plus
from the
1
Sin
life,
Collector,
take
and he's
no
going to
damage.
block the Alms Beast with his blister coil weird.
He's going to essentially gain a life here.
Yes.
Okay.
And second main.
And then, of course, Wald just not relenting on the assault here.
No.
Your turn.
He's going to replay the Dark Revenant that he just drew. And another Rune Wing off the top here for day 9. That's a perfectly reasonable draw here. It does look like, though, he's going to want to use
Let me cast Runner's
his
Bane.
Runner's
on
Bane
this.
Right.
on the Dark, and he does exactly that. So this is giving him a chance to win the game. He's going to need
then the
some
Rune
pretty
Wing.
impressive top decks here to do it,
We'll counter it.
but at least he can get through. And
Milk it.
Psychic Strike is going to hit.
I could have had a mountain. Oh, no.
Oh, no. He hits a Foundry Champion off the mill, which
And
is a card that he
that's
would have
game.
liked to see, but he says that's game and scoops him up. Now, I think Sean was up a game, so I think we're going to see a game 3 here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see more
work on my
Sean's
winning
deck
game
right
too
here.
with
I
these
also
skills.
admire Peter's discipline on
Winning
that
game one
psychic
skill,
strike. You know,
bar
not using it till he absolutely had to.
Yes.
So as they shuffle from game 3, it looks like seeing a little more Sean's deck. I thought it was mostly white splash blue. It looks to be a pretty.
It's pretty even in the red as well.
I mean, it just see it as a
1-1
couple
or
red
out.
splashes, a lot more blue cards than I was
I
expecting.
see. Okay.
Once again, I can do it. I believe in myself. All right. My strategy is for you to not draw land.
Like in first game.
yeah. If we can get a repeat of game 1, I think I'm in good shape.
Qualifiers for the next Pro Tour have begun. You could be on the big stage for Pro Tour Theros taking place October 11th to 13th in Dublin. For more information, visit wizards.com/PTQ. All right, so we get a game 3 for day 9 here. He lost his first match, but he won the first game of this match. He just lost the last one, and he has a very solid strategy. He says he hopes his opponent doesn't draw any lands.
Hey, man. The age-old adage goes, better lucky than good.
Yes.
It has served me well in my Magic career. I'll be the first to admit.
Maybe just in life. All right, so he's letting the camera get a look,
I will keep.
and he does decide to keep his hand here.
I mean, pretty
He's
solid
going to
hand.
be on the draw. Yeah, he's also on the play this game, so he can get off to a quick
wait.
start potentially.
And turn to you.
Okay, so he decided that he didn't want to pass a turn, and he cast a Blister Coil Weird, and it looks like Piotr was
Demir Guild gate?
gracious.
Yeah. So Sean playing mono weird deck here. I think we're going to see a Blister Coil Weird into what looks like a Frostburn Weird, if I'm seeing that correctly. Yes.
Correct.
Weird.
Weird.
We think we're way funnier than we are.
Yeah,
right now, Mark.
that's very
We
likely.
think we are so clever.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I believe you that we're clever.
All right, I believe that I believe.
Yeah,
that I'm
so
clever.
he's got hidden strings in his hand again, Sean does, which is going to be awkward here, but it will pump up the weird, and it will get any blockers that come along out of the way. He's making the best of it. He's got armor transport into Rune Wing here if he can hit the lands for it too. So he's curving out 1, 2, 3, 4 if he has the lands for it.
Yeah, I mean, his hand actually does not look bad right here. The downside is he lacks a second land. That being said, though, he can still attack for 4 damage.
Okay, so he doesn't have a land this turn?
Does not have a land this turn.
Okay, so that's a bummer.
It's a bummer, but I mean, Peter falling to 16. Peter, not really a ton of defense that he can play. I mean, looking at his hand, he doesn't have a 3-drop. Wide of Precinct 6, not going to be very large right here. Does have a lot of lands, though, so if this game goes long, I think that Armada Worm's going to take it up in short order.
Is Peter at 15?
1,
1, 2, 3, 4, and then he attacked with the weird
with
the other
the
turn,
weird
I
the
think?
first turn. I think he's at
We'll
15.
get the life totals updated as soon as possible here. In the meantime, White of Precinct 6 as just a 1/1.
Yeah. I think almost if you're day 9, you just cast Hidden Strings just to pump your weird.
Yeah, your Blister Coil Weird.
Blister
Now, he
Coil
does hit a 3rd land, though, so wouldn't you favor casting, Armor Transport or something here
You can
instead?
do them both, right? You untap your lands off the attack.
You certainly can. That does pump the Weird.
Yeah, and that gives you access to actually empty your hand a lot easier next turn because you have a multitude of cheap spells and cheap white spells. So if he plays Hidden Strings this turn and draws a Plains, he can actually cast multiple white spells next turn.
Clear
Yeah.
attack? Okay.
All right, looks like he's just going to go to attacks here, though.
All right.
So no blocks, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty likely that Sean just says, yeah, take 2, I guess.
Yeah, sure. That's
and
fine.
just drop the transport here.
Yeah.
All right. So again, a 1, 2, 3 curve out for Sean Plott here versus a couple of gates and a really underpowered creature for the time frame.
No, you're right. White of Precinct 6, you're not excited to have as a 1/1. On the other end, Sean did miss his 3rd land.
He did, but so this is a big one, though. We have white gatekeepers, and it was, active. So we've got an extra Vigilance Knight, which is really going to go a long way. If I look into the hand of Piotr, I mean, his hand looks really, really sweet too. He's got an Armada Worm in his hand and a Grizzly Salvage. He can find the mana he needs to cast Armada Worm. He's got a green and a white mana already, so he needs to dig a bit potentially, but Armada Worm's a really tough card to deal with if you're starting off with Blister Coil Weirds and Frostburn Weirds.
Yeah, I mean, especially given the reality that like your Gatekeeper's already gotten you up a card and is providing a ton of blockers for Sean's pretty aggressive start. Should give you the time to be able to take advantage of that Armada Worm. Now, on the other hand, he's going to have to sequence his lands exactly right because his blue-black dual land and his swamp are not really helping cast Armada Worm
Nope,
too
he
much.
needs to hit 2 consecutive green-white sources. Now, Sean did draw the planes that you mentioned before his last turn there, Zach, and he has a few different plays available to him, mostly revolving around Hidden Strings getting in for 1 hit.
I really like Hidden Stringsing the Gatekeeper in the 2/2.
Yeah.
Casting Concordia Pegasus. And, and using that to untap or trying to, untap an island and then cast Security Blockade or Runewing. I actually like Runewing the most probably. Getting 2 blockers out of the way, attacking for 5, something like that.
And we hear Sean doing it the right way. You know, he asked the judge, and now he's like, all right.
These 2.
Right.
And Cypher onto this.
Ciphering onto clearly the creature that's going to be able to attack most profitably through.
Now there should be a trigger for the Blister Coil Weird there. He didn't announce it, and we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, what are the current rulings on that, Marshall?
Well, I think that for triggers like that, my understanding is that until it's relevant.
First, I'll untap these 2 Hidden Strings.
So when damage is dealt is when he has to recognize that. So like Day 9 has to say you take 2 from Blister Coil Weird here.
And plus the Blister Coil will not untapping. So clearly on neither of the triggers just did not announce the effect and so isn't getting the benefits of it. It's kind of one of the things that we tried to do a while back inside R&D when we were talking about, okay, how are the rules playing? You know, it's always frustrating to like remind your opponent what their cards do.
Yes.
So we tried to make that less of a part of tournament Magic and said, hey, look, if you miss some triggers, then you should, go ahead and pay more attention to your cards.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, since we're at the Pro Tour level, the highest possible
6 damage because of this thing. Because of the instant.
So we have now come to that point. And let's see what happens.
You deal 1, 2.
Well, this is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell.
5 is correct.
5 is correct, yeah. Yes, correct, 5.
I wanted to make sure I had it correct. You're good.
It's correct.
This, I realize that this should be untapped because of the Hidden Strings. I forgot about the trigger. Does that mean it stays tapped?
It means you forgot about it.
Yes.
So what happens is stay tapped?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so, we heard Piotr say, and this is correct on his side, he said, it means you forgot about it, and you have to remember.
Well, look, like we're sitting down for a match at the Magic Pro Tour.
Right, we're at the Pro Tour here. This is the biggest possible stage and the highest possible level of competition, so that's a proper statement. Now, if you're at an FNM, I think you would take a different route with that.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah,
I just wanna
but I mean that's definitely it's very relevant. Like again, Sean, not a Pro Tour player, not really accustomed to this level, this level of sort of rules enforcement and this kind of crazy interaction. It is very hard to show up when you're not used to the stage, when you're not used to these rules, and get everything right on the first time. But that doesn't mean that that's not Peter's problem.
Untapped or untapped, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
He means nothing to me. He's in my deck because I needed a creature.
Again, I think that Sean's doing the right thing here. He is cooperating and asking questions, and this is the correct approach so that you can get as good as you can be as quickly as you can be.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, too, just like there's, it's not harm in asking the judge. The judge is going to get it right. It's better than assuming you know what to do.
Right.
And getting it wrong.
Sean is no stranger to the highest level of gaming.
Yeah.
And so he understands how these situations work. Now, the games that he has excelled in are computer-based games where the rules are automatically enforced.
Sounds good. How are you? How was the flight?
A little small talk from Sean.
Wait, I was on airport in Los Angeles like 4 hours waiting for entering USA, and
that sounds like
okay. Let me double check. So you did 5 damage. How did we get to 5?
Okay, so I cast Hidden Strings on this, so that makes this a 2/2.
Yep.
And then I swung and needed no blocks. So it's 2 damage, 1 damage, 2 damage. I did no pumps, and then I cast the Rune Wing, and I just forgot that upon the second striking of this Hidden Strings, when it hits him, because of the Cypher, this should untap and be a 3/3 until end of turn.
Okay.
So now,
that trigger. Okay, that trigger was missed then, and we play on.
Okay, so we're cool.
Yeah.
I didn't get a game loss. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Now, ideally, it should have been untapped from the
Alright.
first hidden strings, though, so he probably
Just
shouldn't
the
get that
visuals
other
now?
damage in.
But he did attack with it, so
Yeah.
it's like, you know,
No blocks.
I see. You would ignore it
flick
since it was
untap it.
untapped anyway.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
fair.
tricky.
That's
It's
fair.
like, you know,
No, you're totally right, Zach. It's a wasted movement, basically.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so he does get in for the 2 then. He does not get to untap it. So let's see where that leaves our board state here.
And so Wald dropping to 8 life, but has a pretty commanding board position. The one thing he doesn't have an answer to right now is the Rune Wang,
And I believe
which
he has
might be what that
agoraphobia?
agoraphobia
Yeah.
is doing. So taking a look at Blister Core Weird, seeing what the controversy was about just then.
Agoraphobia.
Okay.
Yeah, the agoraphobia going to neutralize the Rune Wing without killing it.
That's
so,
right.
Your turn.
Day 9 not going to be able to draw a card.
Yep,
And
pretty ideal solution, really.
yeah, truly.
Now, we do see, you mentioned this a minute ago, Zach, that Wald has played an island here. You know,
Right.
which means that he's not going to have turn 6 Armada.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you looking at Wald's deck, really ambitious mana base. Armada Worm, Grizzly Salvage, Dimir, Guildgate. You know, I mean, like he's got mana fixing.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, anytime you have 2 different Guildgates of 2 different colors, and Armada Worm, you know, there's going to be some percentage of the time you're just not going to be able to cast what you want to cast on time.
Now, we expect to see that Grizzly Salvage cast it on end step here to try to dig for mana, or maybe even big threats, right? I mean, the game, he doesn't have to cast Armada Worm to win the game. It just helps accelerate that process dramatically. It doesn't look like Day 9 has any attacks here. He's probably just going to have to drop that Concordia Pegasus.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're really settling into a long game right here. I mean, Wald not going to be able to get any really good attacks just yet. Doesn't want to cash in the Rune Wing if he can avoid it. And then Day 9, of course, on his side, not too many good attacks either.
All right, quick update. Nassif wins 2-1 over Martin Yuza on the back table. Nassif with an incredibly aggressive
You can attack.
red-based deck.
All right, so we are seeing an attack from Day 9.
All right, now he played the Concordia Pegasus pre-combat. He does still have the 3 to pump into his Frostburn Weird, however.
Right. So not too many excellent blocks of armor transport and that you can't kill it, but you have to expect him to put the Gatekeeper in the way, or does it look like he's trying to get the Weird off the table?
Okay.
Take 2.
Okay, saying I'd be glad to...
You want to pump 3 times.
All right, so he's going to
And
pump it 3 times.
Kill the mega dude. Yeah.
the Mega Dude is
Kill the
hitting
Mega
bin.
Dude.
And, you know, one of the things Wald's trying to do here is get creatures into Day 9's graveyard so that his white isn't just sitting there like an awkward 1-1.
Right. Now it's looking like a nearly respectable 2-2, and it's close to being very big.
Yeah, exactly. Now, something we need to bear in mind, though, I mean, Concordia Pegasus,
All right,
a
we're trying to
1-3
dodge the
flyer,
beast.
Wald is at 6. So
He's
I mean,
at 6?
And no particularly
Oops.
good answers to armored transport.
Now, even though Wald could have taken any number of those lands, he decided against it. You know, I was wondering if this is what was going to happen, because he's in a position where he can also pick up a lot of threats.
Oh, sure.
You know,
So right now, yeah, it looks like he has 2 removal spells, meaning he's going
He's
to be able
got
to
Haunter
deal
of
with the
Night Veil.
Pegasus.
How
He's
many
going to be able to
creatures right
deal with the transport if he needs to. That's going to make that white of Precinct 6 a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that card starts attacking sometime soon. Wait, what is happening?
he can't cast that, right?
You can't do that.
No, that's not
You know
how.
what? I have a worm token, although I don't want to
Yeah.
provide it.
Are
I don't-
or
I-
is
maybe I'm
is that a
missing something.
Simic Guildgate, not
Maybe
a
it
Dimir
is.
Guildgate?
Maybe it is.
Okay, yeah, all right, that makes a lot more sense.
It doesn't look like it from here, but maybe that's what's going on there.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
White, white, green.
You can't actually play there, Monoworm?
Oh, okay.
So it goes directly to graveyard, and it's game loss.
So,
Day 9's having fun at the very least.
Judge Day 9.
so this is an infraction called a game rule violation. Since we're right here, the penalties of warning. Have you received any previous infractions? This
No.
Okay. We rewind the illegal action, so the Armada Worm returns to your hand and the lands on top.
All right.
Okay, so he tried to cast Armada Worm, didn't have the mana, but he's got a Haunter of Night Veil in his hand, which is what he got off of the Grizzly Salvage. That effectively blanks
There you go.
Thank you.
the Concordia Pegasus anyway.
Right. I mean, Wald, yeah, even if he can't cast Armada Worm right now, still has a lot of action
Yeah.
in his hand. He has an answer to everything he needs to have an answer to. You know, Day 9's got a security blockade to add to the board, but I mean, this right here is a huge play for Wald. Yeah, bricking the Pegasus, making armored transport a lot less intimidating. So either way, whatever Wald cast that turn is going to be a big problem for Day 9.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Hands of Binding, is that what that is right there?
That is a Hands of Binding.
Hands of Binding, normally really powerful, might actually be even better against the Worm, but even if you keep the 3/4 tapped, -1, -0 still holds into effect. So
that's right.
Might have turned out even better for Wald, potentially.
Hands of Binding, the card that Hidden String wants to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is his big brother, for
Yes.
sure. Hidden Strings is like, well, I can tap 2 permanents.
Or untapped.
Well,
watch me go.
Look at that flexibility. They are almost the same card.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Cast Security Blockade on this island, and I will tap. 3.
All right.
So
You're
make
gonna
a
wanna make
2/2.
a 2/2. You're going to want to remember that trigger. Because technically, if you forget to put a 2/2 on the board, then, well, should remember to do that.
Right.
So we are, in
I got a
fact.
token. I got one. And that will end my turn until I find the token. There it is.
All right, so yeah, no hands being bound
Nope.
right now.
He just doesn't have any great attacks here, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
so it's an
Pegasus
island.
doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that does explain why he so quickly took the Hunter of
has Armada
Nightvale
Worm.
if he thought he could cast Armada Worm. Because
Yeah,
he
of
saw
course.
lands he could take.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Even
now.
then, though, I think you just maybe just take the Hunter anyway and just hope to get the land at some point.
Yeah,
to
right.
cast
I
it.
mean, you're not really in a hurry to
No.
cast the Worm. I mean, of course, you always are in a. Yeah, you'd rather cast it than not.
Right.
But principally, you're just trying not to die, right?
Is
here.
this a Warp Physique right here? And
That's
did you
what
say
I'm
he
saying.
also has Fatal Fumes in here?
Yeah, he does.
So-
Interestingly,
Three creatures.
going and killing the armor transport right now, I guess he says, okay, I'm not going to have a lot of
This
cards
is
in my
for
hand
your
for most
future
of the
Armada
game.
Worm.
Hey, wouldn't you still wait?
I think I would. I think I'd probably try to use that on Concordia Pegasus if I cared about it, or just hold it in my hand. And but it looks like he is trying to start to generate some good attacks
Oh,
with
okay.
Precinct 6.
Yeah, I mean, my question, my concern would just be, maybe Day 9 untaps and plays Knightly Valor, right? And you just want to get him.
No, I totally agree with that, because even -4, -2, the Undercity Fumes can't take out the Pegasus. So if Day 9 casts Valor on the Pegasus, you're actually kind of in a world of hurt at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm done declaring blockers.
Now, he would have to wait until he had another card to kill the Pegasus anyway, but...
Okay.
All right, so he's going to return that to his hand.
Well, right,
He's
but he
now
could
2/2.
return Agoraphobia if he wanted to.
So
Yeah, that's
or
true.
1/2.
It's free. So
Well,
Yeah, no, I'm saying my 2/2's a 1/2. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's definitely dead.
Trigger, draw a card. He's just hit a planes.
and second main, and you took two.
Yep.
16.
So he didn't block with the
Second main.
Pegasus.
Right.
And here comes Agoraphobia again. So yeah, I think your read was right there, Zach. That Peter Wald, he wants to start attacking. Like he's looking to turn the. I mean, he knows that Day 9 only has a couple of cards in hand, and he feels like he's pretty stable, and he wants to just start turning it around.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we need to remember is the time limit.
Uh-huh.
Like, we've got to end this match if you're Peter.
That's a good
Because we're in
point.
game 3, and this has been going on for a while. I think the rest of the feature match area is cleared out.
And he doesn't want to start off with a loss and then a draw.
No, okay.
6 minutes left is what we're being told.
Right, so yeah, I mean, if you're Wald, you want to say, okay, like, look, this game could theoretically go along. We have a pretty gummed up board. I need to make something happen here, especially since he knows he's not going to be able to cast his Worm.
Yeah, no, you're right. Fatal Fumes, did he draw a launch party?
I think that is the 1/1
All right,
Unleash
tap security
Regenerator.
blockade. And
Yeah, the team is just burgling in right here. I'm fascinated by Day
I take
9's
it.
ability to twirl an ink pen.
Yeah, they had a close up of that.
Is that
Eight.
or
It should be 9 minus
Kibler's
1 for eight.
shuffling
It's 1, 2, 3,
more
4, 5,
mesmerizing?
And then
Kibler shuffle.
5 misses 4 because I have the Rune Wing in the graveyard.
A room, yeah, so
Yeah, so he's a 4/4.
I just want to see a GIF
4,
now of both of
5,
them
6,
next to
9.
And then minus
8.
1's 8, so I go to 8.
All right, it's going to
Okay.
drop Sean all the way down to 8 as the White of Precinct 6 is a beefy 4/4 at this
Yeah.
point.
With a counter.
So
And
again,
you were right,
Wald,
it's
yeah.
Grim Roustabout.
Yeah, and
beautiful
Wald,
counter.
again, being very aggressive right here. I mean, he's putting an Unleash
what?
counter onto it, even though it
There you
gets
go.
blocked by Concordia
So you can
Pegasus.
rack those colors.
Just clearly wanting to
your
start
turn.
attacking for a lot of damage right now. Okay, so we saw a Is It Kirun?
An Is It Kirun come off the top of the deck there.
Okay.
There's a land. He might want to cycle this right away. He's going to have to play Hands of Binding this turn just to not die, right? Or at least to not make just a devastating next turn.
Plus, it's like actually reasonably good right now. Or, I don't know. I guess
Hands
it's
of Binding.
Still not getting him in for any
yeah.
damage,
Hands of
unfortunately.
Binding targeting the whiter precinct 6. So he
yeah. So he can make his Blister
I'll siphon
Coral
him before
Weird
he
a little
Pegasus.
bigger and get in for a meaningful amount of damage.
I will totally play this Clue Stone.
Yeah, I mean, it's meaningful by virtue of the fact that it would trigger the second copy of Hands of Binding,
Oh, thank you.
allowing him to tap
Jesus.
2 creatures.
I see what you're saying.
I'm like totally.
But
All right.
that's not what's happening.
All right. We're tapping this for the Clue Stone.
Yeah.
All right.
So
All you.
Clue Stone there, he can cycle it at the end of Wald's next turn if he wants to. He's got no cards in hand. Wald has to be thinking, all right, like just how can I make sure
ready.
not to lose right now?
That's right.
Okay.
But again, like you said, I mean, he is clearly feels like he's in the aggressive seat right now and is
Yeah.
going to just send in his
So
team.
that can't.
Yeah,
attack.
everyone
That's 1, 2,
attacking right now, except for obviously
The white.
the white,
Yeah.
which is currently tapped.
None of my
The
dudes do
0-3
damage.
Concordia Pegasus not exactly dominating the board state. And Sean thinking
go
right now,
ahead
yeah,
and set this
and
now.
that's actually exactly the correct time to cycle that card. Just have the most information possible before you
Do I
make your
have these two?
blocks.
Head, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Is it Clue Stone? Okay. I only cheat a little bit at this point. We should be tapped now. This is bad. What a disaster this is. We're just gonna go on a chumping spree.
Jumping spree.
You know, I
Sounds like
should
an
probably
unglued
I'm gonna
card.
leave this guy back in case a miracle occurs. But let's block these two like this.
When Day 9 said when a miracle occurs, I
Yeah.
really wanted
Night on
Bonfire
night.
to be illegal.
He has a mana to cast it.
Damage I will.
Okay.
All right.
And you take
No.
4.
No.
No,
He
no.
can't attack.
This was
Hands of
tapped.
Binding him, so he doesn't untap during the untap step.
I don't know why I'm saying
Yeah,
no to
so you
Peter
take-
as
you
though he
take
can
two.
hear me.
So 1, 2.
I think we're
and
just
then we trade
mimicking the
knights.
reaction of our viewers probably too. Like, wait, no.
Your creatures.
Oh, how embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
All right.
I'll play land and it's your turn.
All right. So
All
far,
right, so
no
what can Day 9 produce right now?
Hang in there, Day 9. Well,
This is
he
a Supreme
drew
Verdict,
a-
maybe.
All right.
Supreme Verdict would be
You
excellent.
got to dig deep. I got to figure out what mana do I want to tap to do this.
Yeah, no, this is this is an important decision as
All right, we're gonna sack
Day 9,
immediately.
Sean Plott is facing lethal damage with only 1 blocker left,
Ooh.
and he draws a Daring Skyjack.
All right.
Will that keep him alive,
Coming
Zach?
back.
Yes, it looks like it will.
Yeah, look. All right. Okay, but now it
No.
will not.
Fatal
The fumes
Fumes,
stinking up the battlefield.
and Day
Rob,
9
I lost.
extends the hand as Piotr Wald
But I'm great at winning the first game.
comes back and makes it 1-1 for himself in the first 2 rounds here. Day 9 won a game there.
Yeah, yeah. Got
Had a
game
couple
one.
of close ones, but couldn't quite seal the deal there for Day 9. But as always, he was kind. He was funny. Welcome back to the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe with Zach Hill here. That was a treat, though. I enjoyed having him in the feature match area. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I mean his deck looks reasonable to me. I mean, there's some, not really excited to be playing the 1-drop weird. But he's got a pair of Rune Wings, got some flyers. I mean, he has a real deck, and Hands of Binding, good.
Yeah, a
quality
few questionable cards in there.
Uh-huh.
We were talking about the hidden strings, the blister coil weirds. Those aren't super potent cards. They can be part of a cohesive strategy, but his looked kind of like a normal deck with some of those
Yeah, it
in
looked
it.
like about 19 cards of a blue.
Yeah, that's about what I would think too. But yep, a good fighting chance, and of course, always sportsmanlike. All right, I'm told we're ready to send it back to the news desk, so I'm going to send it there, and then after a little while, they're going to come back to us, and we're going to see round 3. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Thanks, Zach. Welcome back to the news desk. 2 top 8s already in just 7 Pro Tours. He's 2-0. He's just defeated Louis Scott Vargas. His name is Dennis Rashid, and he's at the video wall to take you through his draft now.
Absolutely.
Hi everybody, this is Brian David Marshall coming to you from the Tournament Center at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze in sunny San Diego. I'm here with two-time Pro Tour Top 8 competitor, Dennis Rashid of Sweden, and we're going to talk a little bit about full block Return to Ravnica draft, now including Dragon's Maze. So, you sit down at your table, there's four, you're one of four, people with some top 8 experience.
Sure.
What are you thinking about going into the draft?
I'm going into the draft thinking I want to 3-0 this draft. And basically I'm okay with most of the strategies that the draft format allows.
What are those strategies? What are the things that you're thinking about, like you might draft?
Well, if everything goes my way, I'll be Rakdos or Boros, basically 2-colored aggro. But I'm still fine with all the 3 or 4 colored or even 5-colored slower decks that go big. I'm pretty comfortable.
But word on the street is you like to attack.
Yes. Rakdos is number 1.
Okay,
Go
let's take a look at what your first pick looks like, and tell us what are the cards you're thinking about in this pack?
Sure, so I flipped to the rare and it's Flesh and Blood. It's a pretty good one. That is what I end up taking. The other consideration is basically Scab Clan Giant, mostly because it shares 2 of the colors with Flesh and Blood. I'll have to think about it, and there's nothing else that really sticks out, so I'll have to take one of the 2. And I go with Flesh and Blood because it's a card that I really like. I mean, it's a great finisher, and it's also a cheap removal when it's needed, or just a great card.
Well, and you kind of refer to it as almost being like a fireball, right?
More or less.
You can do a lot of damage with it. What's your story? Where are you on guild gates and gatekeepers?
I like taking maybe the best gatekeepers over the guild gates, so the black one.
Ubulsar gatekeepers.
Yeah, Ubulsar. But mostly, I'd take the guild gates above the gatekeepers because they're very useful on their own, just to fix your mana. And the gatekeepers are not too impressive with just 2 or 3 guild gates.
Okay. So Flesh and Blood in hand, passing Scab Clan Giant. We go to pick 2, and you end up taking a Karazda Gorgon. What are the cards here you're thinking about?
It's pretty much the strongest card in the pack. I mean, there's a removal in Fatal Fumes. It's not the prime removal, so I just go for the strong uncommon here. With, 2/5 Death Touch. It's really easy to find synergies with it.
Sure.
There's tons of counters with Golgari and Scavenge, which is kind of what I'm trying to do here with the first pick and the second pick.
You're thinking with a mind towards that, all the way going back to Return to Ravnica, that you want to scavenge counters onto this, be able to remove them.
Basically, you really want to have a guild in Return to Ravnica because that's where everyone is settled into their colors, and you'll get all the Golgari cards. So that's my plan.
What's really interesting about this is not a tap ability.
Exactly.
Right. So you can just machine. If you have a way to put counters on things, you can sort of machine gun down other stuff. Talk a minute about the Golgari Guildgate, Ubulsar Gatekeepers.
Yeah, I was pretty close to taking the Guildgate, but just to stay more open and stay open to the multicolor strategies. But I want to try the 2-color Golgari more aggressive, or kind of mid-range deck.
Okay,
as
so
well.
you have 2 Golgari cards. You've passed a couple things. Let's go to pick 3, and wow, you've got a lot of options in here.
Yes, Zerta Druid is good. The Crisis, the Moss Dog, they're all good green cards. But Armed and Dangerous is probably the best out of the 4. So that's what I wind up taking. It goes well with the first pick as well.
So Armed and Dangerous makes a guy double strike. So if you have a guy that can get through, it can be a finisher. Yeah. And then if you need to get him through, get other creatures through, you can do it with the lure.
Either you end the game or you just clear their board because you play both sides on one creature and they have to block. Like especially on my second pick, the Death Touch guy.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You see the synergy.
Yep.
All right. So we're thinking a little Jundi here.
Yep.
All right. Again, passing guild gates. So in a lot of the drafts I've been doing, guild gates have been going like crazy. They're clearly fallen out of favor with the pro community, or at least at your table. Judging, we've seen a guild gate go by in every pack.
Yeah. None of the guild gates I saw were my colors.
So you're really looking for Gruul Guildgate, Golgari Guildgate, very specifically. Rakdos.
Especially the Gruul and Rakdos ones, since I'm splashing red.
You want to splash the red. Okay.
So I take the Crawl Warrior. It's a great card. It's a 2/2 for 2, which I always like, and it's good in the late game. That's my kind of card.
Right. That's what we call mana sink. You're able to. You have 6 mana that you can put into it, or heaven forbid, 12 mana you can put into it. And
if you're that unlucky.
Yeah. So great card. Let's move along.
I'm going to want to ask you about a card that I keep seeing go by here, which is Drown and Filth. You're going to take another Crawl Warrior, but I mean, you know your Golgari. You know maybe you're going to have some stuff going into your graveyard. You might even want stuff in your graveyard. Is Drown and Filth a card you've considered at all?
It's a playable card, but I don't think it's that consistent. It's basically consistently -1, maybe -2, but I mean, since if you have other mill yourself type of cards, it becomes better. But in a normal Golgari deck, I wouldn't play. I mean, I wouldn't pick it too highly.
And again,
so,
you said
Warrior.
you like attacking.
Yeah.
2/2s attack.
That's a good one.
For 2 attack. Let's go on to. So you just passed a give and take in the last pack.
And I'm pretty happy to see one here as well, because that's one of the cards I was considering in the last pack, since it's a great follow-up to a 2-drop. If they just tap out, there's a 5/5 swinging at their face. So.
I got to ask you though, are you a little surprised to see these two guys here?
Yeah, and the Beetle Formation.
And the Beetle Formation.
This is a great pack. I'm assuming it was absolutely amazing before a bunch of cards disappeared. When I do like the Tithe Drinker a lot, so I'm thinking like maybe I should have been Orzhov. Maybe I should have kept myself more open.
Do you consider
Guild
switching
Gates.
at this point?
No, since I mean, if I would have picked the Golgari Guildgate as second pick, I would have probably picked the Orzhov Guildgate fourth, and then probably the Tithe Drinker. But I'm all in.
And are you going to be thinking about that blue side of it?
No, I don't
You're just
think
thinking
so.
about the counters and your Gorgon. Okay, let's keep moving. And now we see a Guildgate in your colors. You talked about wanting the splash red.
Quite happy with it.
But there's a Gatekeeper.
There's a Gatekeeper, but I can't really, guarantee having 4+ gates, so I just take the Guild Gates, and it's a good Guild Gate for me.
Any interest in Toil and Trouble?
It's a playable card, but not close to Guild Gates.
Okay, so let's keep going. We're just gonna wrap up your first 8 picks here.
Cyber Torturers, cyber card basically.
2 of them, 2 sideboard cards potentially, but
I do wind up with some of the Drowning Filths.
they come back around. Okay.
I have 2 of my sideboards.
So now we're gonna look at Gate Crash.
Yes.
What are you thinking about here?
Thinking,
Knockhorned Lightning?
Well, first of all, I'm thinking there's an Aurelia, and it's gonna suck to pass this one. And then I'm thinking about Home and Lightning and Slaughterhorn the most. Also Pit Fight is a playable card, but I do like Slaughterhorn a lot more. Homing Lightning is the better card, but it's double red and I'm splashing red.
You've already said you're splashing red,
yeah.
sure.
I just take the Slaughterhorn.
Any thought to hate drafting the War Leader?
Not above, not over a good pick such as Slaughterhorn. So.
Okay, so let's see what else we got out of Gate Crash. Well, we went a little deeper in Dragon's Maze. We'll probably go a little more shallow in the next 2 picks.
Experiment 1, one of the best 1-drops. Take it over Pit Fight. I'm pretty happy with it since I want to be aggressive.
Okay. Any thought towards Greenside Watcher at all?
It's a playable card, but I own only 1 Guild Gate. So.
Right. And so here's wait, what's going on? Holy Mantle, Batman! What are you doing?
I mean, this pack is completely empty for me. I could take a Spire Tracer, but that's gonna wheel.
You could take a
I could take a
Simic
Simic Guildgate, but I'm not gonna pass on 2 really good red splash cards. I have nothing in blue.
Okay.
And there's nothing in blue in the third pack.
So you just actually hate draft.
I just take
the worst card for you.
The worst card for me, yeah.
Sure.
Holy Mantle. I don't want to lose to it. I'll wield the Spire Tracer.
Okay. All right, let's move on. And now we come to Return to Ravnica, and how happy are you to see your old friend, the Dregmangler, there?
It's pretty much the card I want to see the most. It's one of the best cards in the aggressive Golgari deck. And
you get rewarded.
Amazing.
You end up with a second one of these like super late, right?
7th or 8th pick. So I'm pretty happy that I'm in a good enough position.
Let's power through the last couple of things that we have to look at. There's your red splash, right?
Exactly. I want to see Stab Wounds and Augure's Priest in this pack, and that's what I get a couple of them.
Does that Slitherhead come back around?
Slitherhead, I do wind up with 1 Slitherhead,
Nice.
so yeah.
And then let's look one more time. Wild Beastmaster. What's going on with this card?
I mean, it's a good card, especially in Golgari, since all the scavenge, and I did take the +3 give and take. Half of it. It's great with that card. So
you feel pretty good that you got the Golgari cards you wanted in that third pack?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been more open, but...
Okay.
Sure.
Well, they're announcing feature matches, and I believe you've got a Hall of Famer in your immediate future, so we're going to let you get over to that. For Dennis Rashid, this is Brian David Marshall signing off from the Tournament Center.